Welcome back, everyone, to yet another episode of Generator Rex Unveiled. And so far throughout the series, we've talked about nanites and how the superseding nanite event turned everything on the planet into an Evo, or at least infected it with nanites. Today, we travel across time, but first to the original location of the nanite event, the country Abysses, and the home to the main topic of today's video, the egomaniacal genius that is Van Kleiss. While mainly known as the power-hungry opposition to Rex and Providence, Van Kleiss was one of the original nanite event scientists, as I've stated before, and a biointerface expert. But Van Kleiss was a greedy man, and unlike the other scientists, all along wanted the power of the nanites for himself. Once he found out that the consortium had the same objective and that Rex's parents were going to sabotage the project, he murdered Rex's parents, once they triggered the explosion by trapping them within the facility. Van Kleiss, however, was still caught at the center of the event, and a unique specimen was created. That specimen being Van Kleiss himself. Now in Evo, Van Kleiss is tied to Abysses, and it to him, meaning not only will Van Kleiss eventually die without returning, but Abysses itself will also fade away because Van Kleiss's nanites bind the area together. Being the epicenter of the event, and one of the places with the highest nanite concentrations on the planet, it was only logical that Abysses will become a haven for Evos, this haven being led by Van Kleiss. As many other cases show, some humans do not lose their cognitive functions when turned Evo. Upon examination, Van Kleiss's powers, we can see they're indeed a bit different. He has full control over Abysses, and when I say this I mean every structure within it, being able to create gigantic root systems, recover from fatal injuries, and even move the very earth itself, this applying to even manipulating local weather phenomena. With his gauntleted hand, Van Kleiss is basically the opposite of Rex. While Rex can cure Evos, Van Kleiss can create them by injecting things with nanites. This can affect animals, inanimate objects like trees, or I'm not even sure if it extends to things that are like non-organic like rocks, but also people. This extends to him being able to extract nanites from other beings and his surroundings as well. This is showcased in his eternal stone garden of disposed Evos. But stepping aside from Van Kleiss's abilities as an Evo, we have to recognize the incredible cunning ability of Van Kleiss himself. Van Kleiss has forced the world's governments to recognize Abysses as a sovereign nation. This even going as far as having Evos for a time integrated into high-level society, and himself being granted diplomatic immunity. His mind is that of a true genius. No matter the situation or level of adversity, he will always find a way to turn the odds in his favor. The biggest example of this is when Breach pulled a Samurai Jack on him, and by that I mean of course she tossed him back in time. Van Kleiss first seemed to appear in ancient Egypt around 4,000 years in the past. During this time, he somehow gained enough of a high standing in Egyptian society to create and fund his scientific goals and lab. During this time, he also created an incredibly powerful Evo named Garun Set and several other beasts, including the Egyptian Sphinx. This all likely reinforced the legend of the god Set and many other Egyptian myths. And this is where it becomes more interesting. While at first Van Kleiss had a full supply of nanites, he could sustain himself. Over time, however, and with his experiments, he was due to run out before he could find his way home. But even if he didn't, the universe itself was set out to correct the mistake of Van Kleiss in the timeline, supposedly causing anomalies and mass earthquakes wherever he went. I suppose that was the phantom of time chasing him. But upon his next time leap, he goes on another 2,000 years and ends up doing battle in a Roman Colosseum. Here we see an incredible showcase of Van Kleiss's combat abilities outside of simply being an Evo. After soundly defeating one gladiator with a swift amount of footwork and hand-to-hand combat, the Emperor, unimpressed, orders Van Kleiss's death. He then defeats several other gladiators, and I'm almost positive starts the legend of the Manticore. Even after the romantic Egypt, we see Van Kleiss moving forward to several other timelines, forging likely many other myths and legends for himself. We even see some that seem very piratish and some that seem more Mongolish, so I almost feel like he went back in time and interfered with Genghis Khan, but who knows. And so far we can see that Van Kleiss is responsible for creating possibly the first and oldest Evos, through this inspiring several myths and legends and proceeding to leave a massive gash on the history of humanity, a feat not many villains of any series can even begin to boast. But the true nature of Van Kleiss is a cruel and sadistic man. Several times showcased throughout the series, he is willing to sacrifice the members of the pack, or generally anyone to attain his goal. Several times we see Van Kleiss nearly attain godhood, only to be stopped short by the Salazar family, whether Caesar and Rex's parents or Rex himself. But to this end, we see the motivation behind Van Kleiss's greed and grandiose state of mind. He is willing to play the fool to get by, like when he maintained the illusion of insanity long enough to appear to steal the power of the meta-nanites from the consortium. Van Kleiss is easily a global level threat, with world domineering intentions and ambitions. Whether his enemy be Providence, Rex, the consortium, or even other Evos, Van Kleiss will ensure he survives and continues on. Even now, at the end of Generator Rex, we see he is likely saved by Breach like the rest of the pack and will one day go on to likely plague the world again. Cause let's be honest, the fans will love a reboot, but that's hopes and dreams for now. We now move on to the conclusion of this episode. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the next episode of The Unveiled.